Shame is incredibly common after an emotional trauma. If you're emotionally neglected in childhood, perhaps you had parents that were a little bit harsh, not very giving in their praise and validation. But wherever your trauma came from, you can find yourself as an adult in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and on, still struggling with this feeling of shame. How do I get rid of this feeling of constant shame that I'm experiencing? If you're someone who's experiencing shame, this video is going to help you. The first thing I want you to do is to recognize shame for what it really is, which is cognitive distortion. You see, the belief or the feeling that you are damaged, that you are bad, that you are worth less, that you are inferior, that you are unlovable, all of these ideas are false. They're simply not true. Even if you've made some mistakes, you've done some things wrong, even if they're really bad things, you haven't lost your inherent lovability, your worth, your potential. Your inner beauty still exists. And to believe that you should feel shame or live in shame is distortion, meaning it's false. You should not feel shame. You should not live in shame. Shame is toxic. Now, that's separate from guilt. And I have other videos that talk about having a healthy guilt for something that you've done wrong, something you know was beneath what you would like to be. But this idea of shame, where you're internalizing a concept of badness, of worthlessness, of being damaged, that is false and it's unhealthy. And you must let it go. In fact, you must repudiate it, which means that you actually despise it. There's a scripture in the Bible that says, Christ despised shame. That means the very concept of shame was something that was anathema to him. Or in other words, it was disgusting. It's like, move that away from me. So the attitude you should have about shame should be like that. Like the attitude that you would have toward a dirty rag. Just imagine if we were walking down the street, we come to a trash can and I put my hand in the trash bin and I pull out a dirty, saturated, sopping wet rag. Who knows where it's been? And then I hand it to you. Here you go. What would you do with the rag? Would you take the rag? Oh, thank you so much. And just hold it close? Wipe your face with it? Would you treasure that rag? No. You'd be like, get that away from me. Oh, where did you find that? Right? You would repudiate it. You would reject it. You would despise it. That rag represents shame. That's the attitude you need to have toward believing that you are unlovable. You should despise that. The attitude you should have towards believing that you are damaged, that you are bad, the attitude you should have toward believing that you are worthless, you should despise it. Absolutely not. Because to believe something like that would be cognitive distortion. It would be taking yourself mentally into the depths of hell. It's evil beyond compare for a person to think that about themselves. On the other hand, to help you to illustrate or understand your own worth, just picture if we're walking along that same road and we come to a trash can, and this time I reach my hand inside and I pull out a newborn infant, but the infant is all dirty. It's wet. It's not clean, but it's alive and it's moving. It seems to be okay. And then I say, here you go. What would you do with that infant? Would you, oh, no, ew, put that back. Do you think you would say, that infant is damaged. It came out of a trash can? No. Do you think you would say, clearly it's not lovable because somebody didn't love it, they put it in the trash can. So since they didn't love it, then it must not be lovable? No. Do you think you would say, that infant must be worthless? Throw it out. Throw it in the gutter. Of course not. You wouldn't conclude that the infant is bad or damaged or worthless or unlovable just because of the actions of someone else, just because of how someone else treated it. But instead you would take that infant and you would immediately go and get it cleaned up, take care of its health, call the proper authorities that would look after the well-being of that infant. Isn't that right? Why? Why are you treating this as so much more than that dirty rag? It's because you recognize that as a human, it's inherently valuable. Are you making a connection here? This infant cannot be held in shame. As long as it is human, it is inherently of worth, of value. You are like this infant. You're a human just like the infant. So you have the same value, the same worth. It's inherent. It can't be removed from you. So as long as you are alive, you have your value, you have your worth. So even if someone mistreated you, you are not the way they treated you. That doesn't make you bad or worthless because someone else treated you that way. If someone else failed to love you, even if no one has ever loved you, it doesn't make you unlovable. And even if you've made mistakes or you've done something wrong in the past, or everyone just thinks that you're wrong, it doesn't mean that you're actually bad or damaged. The reality is, like that infant, you are worthy, you are deserving of life and this opportunity. So you must let go entirely of this false idea, this cognitive distortion that you should feel shame. You should repudiate that. I will feel no shame. Absolutely not. Because it's unhealthy and it's also untrue. So how can you heal this within yourself? You can reprogram your subconscious mind through repetition. You can reprogram your subconscious mind through repetition. So to change the way that you think, you'll need to repeatedly change the way you talk to yourself. So let me show you how to do that. If I had a child here and you heard me say to the child, "Oh, you are worthless. Oh, you're not lovable at all. Oh, you're truly damaged. You are a bad, bad kid." Would that make you feel comfortable? You hear me talking to a child that way? No, because ultimately you recognize that's abuse. It's verbal abuse. So stop speaking to yourself that way. Stop verbally abusing yourself. Don't talk to yourself like that. Stop it. I'm so dumb. I'm so stupid. Stop. Don't do that. The rule is you must love yourself as you would love the other person. So if you would not say those things to a child, you don't say them to yourself. And the way you should talk to yourself is the way you would talk to a child in your care. So, on repeat, you have the loving words you would give to a child. I love you. You are so lovable. You are so wonderful. You are a blessing. You are good. You have a good heart. I believe in you. You have infinite potential. You can do anything you put your mind to. Maybe that was wrong what you did, but that wasn't your intention. Do you see how I'm talking? Exactly the way I would talk to a child, the way I would protect their mind and their ego. You have to protect your mind and your heart, and you protect it by speaking to it with love, never abuse. So, to recap, we've learned that you're not supposed to be abusing yourself, and that will help you to get out of shame. Repeating positive ways of speaking, the way you would speak to a child, constantly repeating that to yourself will pull you out of shame. And then you have to get rid of the cognitive distortion. Recognize that you are not inherently bad or worthless or damaged. The reality is that you are inherently the opposite of all of that. You are inherently good, you are worthy, and you have infinite potential. I know some of us have actually made mistakes, but recognize the difference between what I did was worthless, what I did was bad. My actions were not lovable or worthy of me. But here's me and here's those actions. Does that make sense? I am still worthy. I am still lovable. What I did was not worthy of me. That's not who I really am. That's not who I want to be. And so that is now separate from me. Does that make sense? So we can feel that repudiation, that rejection toward any bad actions that we reject. But don't reject yourself and don't tie yourself to your mistakes. Repeat this video so that you can sound it down into your mind. There's a lot of details I packed in there. And it's a very short video, but there is so much good stuff in there. So keep repeating this and keep repeating to yourself words of love, praise, and encouragement. I love you.